I've gotta wonder why this episode exists. Spoilers for the leaks, but they said season 9 was gonna be the last one, which means we have 52 more episodes. I've seen 12 of them so far. 6 more are gonna be in two-parters, which leaves 36 episodes to cover the main cast, these 6 new students, the fucking pillars that exist now for whatever reason, and all the characters from the movie that are canon now apparently. If each of the characters introduced since the season 7 finale got 1 episode, that's more than half of the remaining slots. And I like to think it takes more than 1 episode to give a character a satisfactory arc in a show like this. So we're inevitably left with Discount Gilda, Discount Off-Brand Gilda, Discount Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy without the whole character growth thing, this fucker, and the loud one who I'll begrudgingly admit is pretty cute. But on top of these new characters being little more than shit we've seen before, the writing outside of the dialogue between students was pretty bad. We're gonna take a bunch of races, some of which canonically know nothing about friendship.
Dragons don't do friendship.
We're gonna put them all in a room, and then bam! They're all gonna be friends before the halfway point of the premiere.
I can't believe it! They did learn friendship!
So yeah, this episode has some genuinely cute stuff.
We don't have anything like them underwater because, no way to climb them.
Some cool stuff.
But the EEA rulebook doesn't matter.
And some funny stuff.
You didn't tell me this was a pity party! I want a brought ice cream!
But it's impossible to look past how its purpose is to rush through establishing these new characters in this dumb school, which doesn't work.
It's not an EEA school. It's a friendship school. With its own rules.
Bitch, they became friends because of the EEA rules!
Oh, that sounds legit! We're in!
Why are you trying to change them? It can't possibly be unintentional at this point, right? The princess of motherfucking friendship starts a school that completely and utterly fails by everyone's admission. And yet it worked perfectly. This is an undeniable admission that you can't learn friendship. You learn from it.
I take back everything I said about you. That was cool.
As many better episodes have already taught all of these characters. And moreover, it's evidence that Pinkie Pie should really take over these Princess of Friendship duties.
There's not any equation on how to have fun.
Because Twilight's clearly just a pawn that Celestia is using to crumble the establishment that opposes her power.
Not even a princess can do whatever she likes when it comes to shaping young pony minds.
Because, why is she even supporting this school if it's teaching the other races how to use the magic of friendship, which would make them harder to conquer?
However, for the moment, perhaps it is best that we leave the Changeling Kingdom to the Changelings.
Oh, I keep forgetting, that's just my headcanon. Ugh. If this was any other show, I'd think that the brain pony was just being a dick.
How do you know these creatures won't take what they have learned here and use it against us?
But we've all seen that the magic of friendship is basically a weapon of mass destruction, so he has a point. Regardless, throwing these guys in just to serve as stand-ins for their whole races, learning how to be nice to each other reeks of bullshit. Even more so than the adults deciding to go to war over something that isn't even a misunderstanding.
The students left us notes before they disappeared.
It's just a willful misinterpretation of an extremely explicit note.
They claimed they ran away to stay together.
What, teenagers don't run away from home?
The students couldn't have done this by themselves.
Who thought of this? Anyway, here's some stuff.
Y'all think that's why the map grew? Friendship quests beyond Equestria?
Yeah, that's great, but the second map mission was outside of Equestria, so...
Griffinstone!
Yeah.
The very heart of the Griffin Kingdom.
Twilight promised noticeable results.
It'll be the perfect time to see our progress.
Before establishing a baseline.
The School of Friendship, first day of class.
How many full-time jobs does Rarity have? She's running 3 stores, and she's a teacher, and she's an element of harmony that has to save the world every few weeks.
You leave the school unattended to gallop off on your adventures.
Wait, all of these characters have some semblance of a real job. What are they doing? Is this guy's name Grandpa Gruff, or is Gallus related to Gilda? Pinkie Pie wants to bring guns to class, and AJ is getting students drunk. Wait, why is Applejack having students do trust falls? Isn't that more of a loyalty thing than an honesty thing? This first quarter of season 8 wasn't as good of a start as I really wanted. The highlight by far was horseplay. Yeah, finally, we got a good Celestia episode. and she will never give up a chance to teach her extremely stupid student a lesson about honesty.
Didn't Applejack remind you?
Everyone else was appropriately relegated to the B story, which actually had a satisfying payoff. And Twilight almost listened to Spike
No, think about it. Right now, most of Equestria doesn't even know we're doing a one'sversary play.
before Rainbow Dash ruined it,
Did I miss something? Just a bright light of hope being snuffed.
which allowed the conflict to build and rose the stakes in a not completely contrived way. And they finally call out the subtle racism of the phrase every pony.
No pony, indeed.
On my first watch, I was skeptical, to say the least, but as soon as Celestia pulled the rug out, like, bitch, I'm a princess! I can act, you fuck!
You what?
Gotcha. Maybe I'm not such a bad actress after all.
I was shocked in the best possible way. This episode was incredible, and if I didn't already know better because of the leaks, I'd say it had potential to be the best of the season. And now for the bad, Starlight sort of forgets that last season's Luna Celestia happened.
We've met Princess Celestia before, plenty of times. Those were formal things. This is different.
Which is fine by me, because that episode was precariously on the cusp of being bad, and now I'm happy we have an actual good princess episode that denies that one's existence. So that point is kind of a wash. And, well,
The 1111th year anniversary of when you first raised the sun.
it's only been 1,111 years since Celestia started raising the sun? So wait, how old is Star Swirl? Has this been going on since the beginning of time? But Star Swirl disappeared multiple thousands of years ago.
Solving a thousands-year-old mystery could take forever!
But we're 8 seasons in. If you still give a shit about continuity, I'm ashamed of you. And speaking of being ashamed, wait, that segue doesn't work. Oh god, this entire video concept was a failure. Surf and/or Turf was pretty good, except significantly less so. These first 6 episodes were split right down the middle between good and bad. And I don't mean that half of them were good and half of them were bad. I mean, half of each individual episode was good and bad. I mean, this was a map episode where Twilight tags along with the CMC, despite her unwillingness to defy the map being a big part of all the other map episodes. I mean, I guess she said fuck it in the season 7 finale and never said unfuck it because she brought Starlight, Sunburst, and the Pillars, despite the map only calling the main 6. And what would they have done without Starlight there? And what does the map know anyway? No, I mean that legitimately. What does the map know? Because the CMC aren't really involved in solving this problem. It isn't even really a problem at all. It's more like the perception of a problem that doesn't exist. Exactly like the CMC's cutie mark thing back in the first 5 seasons. You know, something where the solution was the friends we made along the way. But they still got their marks anyway, which completely undercut the message of every subsequent episode. But I mean, his name is Terramar.
Terramar!
You know, like Earth, water. Can't help but feel like his parents are slightly at fault. But this guy's in a situation where both places are great and there's no pressure to choose. He's just self-conscious because everyone else has already. And instead of the CMC telling him that when they thought they had a huge problem that none of their friends or family agreed was a problem, it all worked out the minute they stopped trying to solve it, they had a huge fight and then asked Twilight for help.
Whoever said that he had to choose?
Which is against the rules of the map, isn't it?
If the map wanted me to go to the coolest kingdom in all of Equestria, I'm sure it would have said so.
But the reason this episode is still above board for me is that everyone is enjoying themselves so much. Even Terramar's parents, who are separated, but they still care about each other, and they just have different preferences about how to live. And it's not a big deal. I mean, for anybody but Terramar. But I mean, come on, man, cut your parents some slack. It's almost like they're 2 grown adults that made a decision for their own happiness. Almost exactly like what you're doing. And speaking of doing... Oh god, these segues are really, really bad. I'm a little split on how I feel about the mod couple. To give it a little context, I watched these episodes in live streams with chats, wherein the prevailing opinion was that everybody hated Briar but loved Mod. Which was far too funny for me not to bring up, and highlighted the necessity of this episode's lesson enough for me to look past how weird it is that Pinky loathes this guy when she gave Gilda and Cranky and the Yak such a benefit of the doubt, even though they were actively hostile towards her. Because exactly how Mod says,
we have a lot in common.
Pinky doesn't bat an eye the first time Mod says technically.
Technically, we're in like...
Tell me everything!
Because it's before she knows that Briar is her boyfriend. But she flips her shit the second time just to emphasize exactly how shallow she is.
Technically, I said I wanted to be with both of you.
Technically?
And for that shallowness to really come through, she had to hate him immediately. But that doesn't seem like Pinky. So if you're watching this with continuity in mind, you're a little fucked. But if you're watching this as an episode intended to teach someone a lesson, you're a little better off because it's a good lesson.
Technically, you're right.
Speaking of a good lesson, don't cockblock the elderly. All right, that segue worked. Sweet. I don't see anything particularly wrong with this episode.
We save up our energy all year for Las Vegas this weekend.
I can't go to Las Vegas because I have to teach at Twilight School.
So I consider it the second best out of these 7 episodes. It's just that the whole conflict sort of made me uncomfortable watching it, because there's no winning. I mean, Rainbow can't suggest they go on the roller coaster because she won't let them out of her sight, because that would, be against AJ's rules. And she isn't gonna force them to wait in line all day just to do her thing, even if asking would have worked out.
Fish-flavored kitten kibble. Why didn't you say so sooner?
Because making the request is sort of putting pressure on all of them, and she doesn't want to do that. So she's basically fucked and resigned to keeping her promise. The granny's reaction to AJ having been the one that ruined their fun by proxy was what sold the episode.
Applejack put you up to this? Oh, Applejack! I had no idea.
Of course Applejack is going to teach Rainbow's lessons.
Can you cover my glasses?
Absolutely.
Wait, hold on. What if this clip from the premiere was from the time that AJ was teaching Rainbow's classes about loyalty? Because the song takes place in real time because Ember reacts to it.
If you promise to stop singing, Smolder can stay.
But the music video takes place over the course of a long period of time. I don't know. The whole how long is a moon debacle comes back up. But they literally say this.
I'm sure they'd be plumb tickled to have you join their annual Grand Mayor's trip to Las Vegas.
And this.
We've been coming here every moon since we can remember.
So I think they're really making an effort to tell everyone who cares to fuck off. And I also couldn't help but think Ride the Wild Blue Yonder was some sort of a euphemism every time it came up.
It's the last day ever to ride the Wild Blue Yonder.
And speaking of euphemisms, no, that one doesn't work either. Fake It Till You Make It might be the worst of these 7 episodes.
Maybe it's just 3 really fast ponies that really look like her.
Seriously, Pinky, why would they have to be really fast if there are 3 of them? And I thought the point of this episode was that everybody had stuff to do, but it's fine for them to step away since Fluttershy's being a bitch again.
Tell everyone it's time to head back to Saddle Row.
I thought Fluttershy had freaky knowledge of sewing.
Thanks to Fluttershy's freaky knowledge of sewing.
Wait, she asked Rainbow Dash first? And she didn't ask Spike at all. He would have been all over that shit.
Oh, I've never tried to act before.
Wait, what about this? And then 3 episodes later, she's the lead role in Celestia's play? I mean, this is another token Fluttershy has no chill episode, but it doesn't even make sense. Why does she start being mean to the customers? And I'm trying to justify it, but it's like they just needed her to be all bad for this episode.
Finally, a pony who understands that the couture in this shop is far too brilliant to even consider selling.
She was using her snootiness to sell dresses at the beginning, but then she stopped. So there's no dilemma or moral quandary.
You are terminated!
She got fired because she wasn't making sales. Oh, and I guess she was rude too?
I got so caught up trying to please all of your customers that...
What customers?
They made Fluttershy, dumb. It's not all bad, though. Applejack's was choice. And Fluttershy and all of her new outfits and personalities were cute. This episode has, a bunch of stuff that's typical of good episodes, even though it isn't one. This channel isn't monetized anymore. So if you would be so kind as to support me on Patreon, you will get access to my Discord server, which is a fun place to be.